Cecil, no, 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 no. You can't get under there. No, Cecil. No. No. When you're under there, you attack. No. Little path. You can't get under the canvas. No. Because then you'll eat me. Yee, salt. Sugar bird.
Hey, you guys. Look at you all.
What do you say? Rip, rip, rip.
Brr.
So hello and welcome to Lisa Banerjee. And Cecil, say hello.
Don't eat the pocket. Hey, hey, hey. Ah. Silly bird. Silly bird. No, you don't need to eat the zipper. No. No. Here, how about a piece of wood? Another piece of wood too if you want.
So Jem and Jamie is here. Welcome, Jemin.
Hello.
Oh, look
Hello.
at that Cecil face. And to Sugarbird.
Sugar. Snowball. And Jasmine hiding behind Snowball.
So we've got Dirty Birds here. So hello, Dirty Birds. Nice to see you. And Dirty Birds reports that the umbrella cockatoo Ace is doing much better. His tongue has healed from the infection. And also, he's been buying bird bistro food that you cook for them. So I've not heard of it, but I like that you cook the food yourself. That's cool.
Yeah, I cook the mash, which has pellets in it and all kinds of fun stuff. But what are you doing up there? Never too sure about those third-party places that put together that kind of thing. But what are you doing up there? But it is good to cook for him.
Yeah,
Is it?
I don't know exactly how it works, but if they send you the raw ingredients chopped up and then you cook it, then that sounds like a good way of doing it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Usually what I've seen is like these companies, they just buy really like they're like I don't know, small companies. They buy noodles and they buy other stuff and they put them in a little package with instructions, that kind of thing. That's what I've seen. But that's noodles aren't that nutritious. So as a treat, it's okay occasionally. As long as you don't get an umbrella cockatoo addicted to something that isn't that nutritious, it's easy to do. Hey.
So let's greet some other chatters. Rosebud Atkins is here, so hello, Rosebud. And Jocelyn Triggle says, hi, Don Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Rosebud. Hello, Jocelyn. And we're going to talk about trust today. And actually, I think the greatest, just my personal opinion, the greatest difficulty with trust is it's hard for the human to trust the bird. That's usually the beginning of distrust by the bird, but we'll get into it. What are you doing? Oh, it already has a sharp edge, so you can use it to poke me. Is that what you like about it?
It's an offensive weapon.
And it has a hole in just the right place. Looks like you cut that one, didn't you? He'll trim them down so he can hold them. That looks like one that he's done. And it's got the sharp edge, so you don't like me talking about you?
Mm.
The big problem with trust in these guys is they have a long memory, probably longer than ours. Anyone who's ever been married knows that your partner will hold back things from years before and use it against you. You know, get in an argument about some little thing today, and you're hearing about what you did 5 years ago. It's that way. It's that way with these guys too. They have long memories, so if you tease them or if you show a particular emotion like fear with them, they will remember what you did and they will use it. Right, Cecil? A good example of that, just a simple example before we get into it, because I have a lot to say about it, but Lorelei is having a tough mating season, and I can't have her in here with, I assumed it would just be Cecil and KK that were a problem, but I found out I can't have her in here with Snowball either. Snowball doesn't do anything; it just sets her off. So when I say trust, now she trusts me fine after what happened. What happened was I was trying to stop her from going after him, which I succeeded in doing, but in the process, she tore the heck out of my finger. In other words, she was protecting me against him. So I had to pick her up with the one other hand and hope I didn't lose more fingers on that hand and get her into her cage and let her calm down. And then from until we get outside, she's not going to be around Snowball or any of the boys. Outside, she's okay. In here, so some people in a situation where they got bit like that, and we're talking about she caught an artery. I didn't even know there was one in my finger. I guess there has to be, right? And I had blood spurting everywhere. I had to avoid getting blood on her and get her out of here without making her afraid of me. And so when I went to take her out of the cage, well, usually what I do in the morning when I give her a medicine is I'll take her out of the cage and then I'll pet her for a little bit, talk to her sweetly, baby girl and all that stuff. And she loves that. So what I did is I offered her the medicine and she stepped back and put her foot up. So I wanted to give her the opportunity to decide whether she wanted to step over. She stepped right over and cuddled up with me. So if you take something like that personal, all you're going to do is ruin a relationship. So she wasn't attacking me because she didn't like me. She was trying to protect me from the evil Snowball. You can see how dangerous he is. He was about 2 feet away from us. He was just sitting there and we went after him. So again, she's just having a tough time with mating season. Are you going to trim off that sharp edge there, kid? you gonna trim off that sharp edge, or are you just gonna hit me with it? Hmm?
All the better for stabbing you with.
And yeah, and talking to people about trust in parrots is probably about as easy as talking to people about trust in their own relationships. In the US, the divorce rate is ridiculous. I mean, it's out of control. And that's because there isn't any tolerance. You know, you only have to do one little thing to end the whole thing. And you can't treat the parrots that way. It's a good place to learn persistence and the ability to establish trust. But you don't realize when you're not, when you're doing things to break trust. If I play with him like that, and he's okay with it. If I actually try to take it out of his beak, he gets upset. So, and he'll remember that the next time. I just play with it. I just grab it and play with him a bit. He's okay with that, but right, Cecil? Yeah. What are you doing? No, 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 we're not doing that. Hey, hey, hey. Hello. I don't want you tearing the carpet apart. It looked like what you were about to start doing. Whoops. He looked like he was about ready to start tearing the carpet up, so I diverted his attention. That's a good boy. That's a good KK bird. KK good bird. You've got wood over there and stuff to play with. You don't have to try to pull the carpet up. So
That's pretty cute.
you're a good bird, but odd. You know that? So am I.
That's okay. We all have our oddities.
Some being more odd than others.
We have some more chatters. We have Spirit Peta who joined us and iGirl who joined us and tells us about problems with her parrot. It's a Pioneer parrot. And she says, I'm afraid of my Pioneer parrot after she attacked me twice recently, after 10 years together and only defensive bites like when I needed to catch her.
Well, thing has changed. You've changed something in the environment. You've changed the way you look. There's something going on. It's also possible that there's health problems. And so taking your bird to the vet to make sure that they don't have, getting a CBC and making sure they're okay. Not a bad idea when they start major changes in behavior. But there's always a reason for what they do. So Chloe freaked out when I brought out a can of Rumford baking soda. I remember that one distinctly. And why? Because some particular piece of red there, just the color red on that can, she couldn't tolerate. I know of one person who had two homes, and they took a bird to a second home because the bird was screaming and biting, and found out it had a tumor, and it died about a month later. And there's nothing that could have been done, but I mean, at least it would have been good to know that it was a medical condition that was causing the problem. But 9 times out of 10, it's behavioral. Another example was a woman who said her bird wouldn't come out of the cage, would become frightened. And I said, what have you changed? And, oh, I've changed nothing. So I had her look around the room, and she'd put three boxes in the corner, on one corner of the room. She took them out, and the problem was gone. So there is a reason why your bird is biting you now. Having a camera up in the room so that when it happens, you can look back and look at it 20 or 30 times and see what stimulated the situation. But the first thing you do is look in your room and see if you've changed anything. And don't just look around. We humans look around and think we see everything. There's that one little video that you can find listed in our show notes that it's only it's a little less than 2 minutes. I think it's an hour and let's see, 1 minute 57 seconds, but it's called Who Done It? And that'll show you how much you miss. Okay. You're supposed to figure out who committed the murder. When you get to the end of the video, you won't believe what you didn't see. So I was taught when I was taking my first class in applied behavior analysis, specifically targeting parrots. I was to take video and watch them 20, 30 times, 40 times. And we were given the example of the little boy that had to be handcuffed, or he was autistic. He would beat himself in the face. So it took someone studying him through, double. You've got to stop that. He's whacking the side of my head. Would you just be a little less aggressive about whacking me with that, would you? Please? I can't. So anyway, they had to look through a double mirror and watch this kid, and the practitioner of ABA figured it out. But so what he did is he replaced the handcuffs. These were kind of handcuffs the police used. Replaced them with lighter handcuffs, and then with plastic handcuffs, then with rope, then with smaller rope, then with string. And by the time they got down to the string, they were able to take this child to restaurants and actually have the child sit and eat. What he discovered was that the child wanted to be restrained. You wouldn't guess that kind of thing, and he proved it out by slowly reducing the strength of the ties that were binding the child. So again, so she choked her. Dry throat. Hey you. Hey. Hey, what you doing? Not the carpet. Good boy. So it takes observation, and the best way is videoing, because we were then subjected to a whole bunch of videos where we had to look at it and determine what was going on and describe it in terms of that were realistic. In other words, real behavior, not what you think. Well, not the bird is frightened, but the bird is leaning away from the person that's in front of them and turning its head side to side. The feathers on the back of the neck are up. That's the kind of thing.
Pie Girl says she's cage territorial, has been for a while without biting. One day I was putting food in her cage and she bit me and didn't let go. So I think there is already an indicator, so that it basically built up over time and now results in biting.
Yeah, it sounds like that. Again, there may be something in the room that's making something has changed. Like the woman who told me, well, I haven't changed anything. And we started talking, well, what's your hair color? Oh, I dyed my hair red. She was a brunette, dyed her hair red, and they couldn't understand why her bird was biting her. So at this point, if it's that kind of, then what you want to do is get the bird out of the cage, if possible. I mean, I don't know how you normally get the bird out of the cage because it's territorial, but put a perch or whatever to get them out. But get them out of the cage and then change their food and water, and then put them back in the cage. That kind of thing. That's one way to temporarily solve the problem until you start working on that cage territoriality, which would probably be using come-bearing gifts and calm attention, those two techniques.
And you can use a stick if she'll step up on a stick. You can put the stick in the cage. So then your hand isn't in the firing line.
Yeah, it's best not to use a glove or something like that unless there are certain circumstances where they need to be used. Uh, I've had to use one with KK to get him to take his medicine. I don't know what they did to him, but when he sees that, there's no trust between the hand that has the medicine and and KK at all. So
Mm.
I only had
Hi Girl seems not to be upset that she did something wrong. I think maybe that's maybe the wrong way to look at it.
Yeah,
There's
you didn't do something
always,
wrong. It just changed.
yeah, that's the thing. It's just you have a relation to your parrot, and as you said a little bit above that, at the moment you think it's hormonal. So you see your parrot also goes through phases, and sometimes they change their behavior as well without us doing much about it. So cage territoriality is nothing super unusual in parrots. I think Don has to deal a lot with it.
Yeah, and Lucy is very territorial, and you wouldn't think so because she's such a sweet girl, but she can be a bit vicious sometimes.
they try to take her out of the cage, yeah, and like with my finger, where Lorelei tore into my hand, that was a matter of mating behavior, um, which happens in mating season. We don't usually use the term hormonal because unless you've done a blood sample, you don't know that. But you do know that you're seeing mating behavior, and it may be based on hormones, probably most of the time, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just a habitual type of behavior, but it is a common way that it's described on the internet. Mating behavior is a better description, but I'm glad that got brought up because we really don't know what's going on inside their bodies. Yeah, don't blame yourself. That's not going to work. Just think of the Godfather, what the Godfather said. It's just business. It's not personal. Okay. It's just business. It's not personal. In this case, it's a reaction to a to a situation that we don't fully understand. And again, to not take it personally, I suggest watching that short video Who Done It, because it was actually a video done for to have people be more concentrate better when they're driving. It's made in England, but
Yeah, I think now the main thing what all this situation is about, how you basically can put something in the cage without being bitten, because usually the bird doesn't want to bite you, you don't want to be bitten. So, yeah, how does one manage such a situation? How does one approach it, Don?
yeah, well, you're looking at protected contact, so you need to, if you can put like a perch in your hand and then have them get on the perch. Now that doesn't mean the bird won't run up to your arm, so you have to be prepared for that. You can get hey, hey, hello, getting all focused on chewing the carpet. No, let's not try to chew the carpet. Silly bird. Hey, hey. Yeah, so when you
And
hey,
maybe you can
hello.
show us Jasmine because she is not established yet. We are talking about it in chat. I already joked about it. Where's Jasmine? I cannot see her.
What Jasmine? There's no Jasmine in here.
Yeah,
Just hiding.
perfect hiding back there. She knows how to sit that the perch exactly covers her.
Yeah. Well, this is really a trust issue, and this is what we're talking about. If once you get bitten a couple of times, you tend to lose that your trust. Now, this I've been bitten on darn it on that finger by Lorelei twice now, and I've managed to keep her trust, and I still trust her. I just don't trust her when there's a male cockatoo in the room. Hey, gonna be saying hey a lot today. Don't eat the carpet. Don't comprende inglés. You don't understand English down there, huh? start speaking to you in Russian or something, huh? Не понимаете по-русски? No? So you have to work with the bird so that you keep your trust and also gain the trust of your bird. So what you can do with a perch like that too is there are some of these Elizabethan collars. You can get them pretty small, the ones that are meant for a cockatiel, that kind of thing, and you can put that on the perch so that your hand is on the other side of it, and you don't have to worry about the bird running up on you. But that probably won't happen. But what you're trying to do is prepare yourself so that you don't like have to drop the perch and create a scene.
Yeah, Pie Girl says that her parrot doesn't step up on anything.
Well, how does she get it out of the cage?
Maybe the bird comes out by itself. But that's a good question.
It is a good question. If it's cage bound, it won't come out. That's a big problem.
Well, with some birds, it's like you open the cage door and they come flying out, not like lazy Shook who wants to be.
Has to be carried.
Sorry, Shook, I'm just joking.
Oh, Shug comes out. She gets wild when she knows we're coming in here. So
Yeah, that's true. Who are the lazy ones? Yeah, Pygel says as the bird comes out by itself.
oh, okay. I would suggest mounting a perch on the outside of the cage that you can take on and off. Trying to think, I can't think of a perch that's made like that. Something, well, you get two of them, so eventually if the bird starts sitting on that perch, you might be able to get it on the perch that you're putting in the cage. Although it sounds like whenever anything goes in the cage, it becomes territorial. The first thing is to develop more trust inside the cage, and I would suggest those two techniques: come bearing gifts and calm attention.
Yep, come bearing gift can do magic, as it did back then with Marley, who was also pretty cage territorial. Marley was not a cockatoo, but a double yellow-headed Amazon. And they are known for being spicy.
Well, when I got him, I was told that if you're a guy and you get your hand anywhere near him, he's going to chomp on you until you need to go to the hospital. In 2 weeks, he was hanging out with me in the aviary and coming over and getting on my shoulder. So, I would start with those two techniques. Now, that the thing about calm attention is if you can get the bird to look at you, it takes a while to get them to look at you for up to 30 seconds without turning their eyes away inside the cage. Then at that point, you can start working with getting the hand close to the cage and offering food directly from the hand or offering food with some extension of your hand, like a spoon or something. But right now, I would change the food and water when the bird is outside the cage. That's your first method. I'll let you watch out though, because the bird is cage territorial. It might try to get back in the cage to stop you. This is an issue, and always have a towel around just in case for some reason you have to towel the bird. If you throw a towel over a bird, the bird doesn't really associate that with you. I don't know why that is, but unless their face is out and you're giving them an angry face or something, that they just kind of blame the towel. So it goes on inside their head, but I don't
Yeah.
see.
A towel is something scary for birds. I think my birds also react now to towels since when when they have to go to the vet, we usually, when we have them in the transport cage, and that comes into a basket, and over that basket also, and in the basket we have towels, so it doesn't get any wind or so inside. So just that you know, they get not any temperature drop or something like that. And I think even that has been enough for them to be like, oh, you're taking a towel with you. What are you doing? So do we need to the vet?
Well, yeah,
But luckily, I was just going to say they seem to think that the towel is separate from you. They don't seem to realize that you're controlling the towel, thankfully.
yeah. It's hard to say what's going on inside, but it doesn't seem to. They don't react to me when after I've used the towel and I walk up like, oh no, it's the guy who brought the towel. But when I bring the towel over, then you get the reaction. So yeah, it kind of looks that way. Well, just remember that according to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, your towel is your most important accoutrement. You need to have a towel at all times. And with birds, hold on a sec. There's my towel. It's a dish towel. They're nice and hard for them to bite through. Oops, I'm sorry. Oh, they're looking at the towel like, what's with the towel?
Oh no, the towel.
He brought out the towel.
Not the towel.
When I took Lorelei out of here when she bit my hand the last time, I didn't use the towel. I just held her with one hand and talked to her calmly. Told her she was a good girl. She didn't know any better what she did. I wasn't. That wasn't reinforcing her behavior of biting because she wasn't biting at the time. She was just trying to figure out why I was taking her out of the room. It didn't make any sense to her. She was defending me. So, but yeah, I would try those and then get back to us. We'll see what we can do to. And if you can set up a camera, you know, most phones have a camera. And I think you can get a tripod for about $25-$30 on, online or locally, and set up your camera on a tripod.
And there's a good update as well. She says, Pie Girl says that when the bird sees her doing something inside the cage, she tries to rush back in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's one that you really have to be there to figure it out. It almost sounds like you're going to have to like toss a towel over him to change his food and water. Because that's strong cage territoriality. Bob was like that. I had trouble getting into his cage, but I can reach in his cage now, and I have to because he likes to eat the perches, and I have to like take him out, modify him, put him back in, and he'll come over and watch me, but he doesn't get that territorial. He's territorial enough now to watch, but he used to come over and bite anyone who tried to mess with his cage. So you can try when the bird gets on the top of the cage, you could try telling him and then changing the food and water. It's hard to say if I were in that situation with the bird, what I usually do is put up some kind of a screen. A lot of the cages here, I change the water and food inside the cage. The bigger cages, I'll have to swing outs, but some of the cages don't.
I guess you could try distraction if you have a really amazing toy or a really amazing treat that they really want, then put it down far away from the cage and then rush to the cage and do it before they notice.
Yeah, it sounds to me like a lot of training needs to go on both sides. In this situation, if you've never been able to take a bird out of a cage, then you need to train the bird to to listen to you and react to you. So after you do the the come bearing gifts and the calm attention, you can go to targeting, so that you can move them around by just pointing where you want them to go. That's the way I teach things like this. Opening the wings is all targeting. Opening the beak so I can see inside of it, that's targeting too. I use two fingers and just go like this to open the beak. So it seems like what I would start is working with those two things, and then work on targeting. So the bird will go where you want it to go to get its treat. The thing is, you're dealing with prey animals. So prey animals tend to, they see the glass is half empty, right? That's not a hose on the ground, that's a snake. We do that too, but when you walk outside and you see something move on the edge of your vision, you don't think, oh wow, someone's bringing me a present. You turn to look to something's coming to get you. That's built into us. We're not prey animals, but we still react to that kind of thing. They have a much stronger reaction. So at this point, when a bird sees that it can't trust any hands in its cage, and you have to work with them so they get over it. You have to desensitize them to hands, and the come bearing gifts definitely helps with that. And the calm attention gets their attention, so you can start working around it. Well, let's see. I'm going to go into my notes here because I got a bunch I want to go over, and I've only got about 20 minutes to do it. So bear with me a sec here.
Well, it actually fitted well the topic.
It did.
It is
Yeah.
about trust.
It does. And in fact, we probably will end up going over more of it. I just wish they would fix their notes so I don't have
So thanks for throwing that in, Pie Girl. We're always happy when we can help in some way. Yeah, stay resilient. It often needs time to change such things, as we cannot really know what the bird is thinking. And now I give over to Don that he can do his presentation.
Yeah, as I said, they're prey animals. That was the first thing I wanted to talk about. Parrots have long memories, okay? So if you show fear after you've been bitten, and I know how, with an umbrella, it's usually 1 or 2 bites and then they stop. With most true parrots, those that are not cockatoos, they hang on, especially Amazons. They'll hang on for a while and do a lot more damage. Although, I mean, these beaks can do a lot of damage, but I know. Well, you know I'm talking, so you can't get a beak pet. She's looking at me like, I know you won't pet my beak right now. You're going to try anyway, aren't you? So because of that, you have to be careful you don't make any negative memories for them to work with, because it's going to take you, they're not going to forget it, but you can work around it. You just want to do as little of that as possible. A simple example is if you were handing using a sunflower seed as you were baiting the bird. When you show them a treat to get them to do something, it's called baiting. So you're baiting the bird to do that, and then they reach for it and you pull back. They won't forget that. You're going to break trust the second you do it. As soon as you offer the sunflower seed, you have to give it. Even if you didn't get what you wanted, there's a certain behavior you wanted, you didn't get it, but you offered it, you have to give it. So remember, they have long memories, okay? They're social creatures, so they're looking for a social reaction from you. They're looking for certain things, and if they don't get them, it can be a problem. Hey, you, come here. Come here. No. He wants my attention, and he's grabbing my thumb. I know you want me to pet you. Sit up here, I'll pet you. Okay? I'll pet you right there. Turn the camera on. They've got to fix this. If I'm working off my notes, the second I go to change the camera, I lose my notes. I have to go back into them. That's doing for you. So those are 3 things to remember. They're social, They expect social interaction. So he's got right now he wants me to pet him. So if I don't, he's going to take his beak and gently nudge me. That's what he does. Or he'll take his tongue and tap me. Now I taught him to do that. So he gets an immediate pet if he taps me with his tongue. If he uses his beak on me, I'll let him wait just about 5 to 10 seconds. Because I'm trying to encourage the tongue behavior. Right? Right. This is, I don't know what you're talking about. Blah, 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 right? Cecil? So the way you establish trust is with positive reinforcement. When they do something positive, you give them that reinforcement. You know, if you got taken the treat out, you figured out what they like best, and that's what you're using as training. Eventually, when you have a bird that's cage territorial, like the one we're talking about, you can reach into the cage, change what you'll do is like you reach into the cage once you've got those 2 other techniques down, and offer the treat that they like. And let's say if it was a sunflower seed, you would offer the sunflower seed, take the food out, just before you put the food back in, offer another sunflower seed, put the food in, change the water, you do the same thing, okay? So you're rewarding every time you're putting your hand in the cage. Right now, that's probably not going to be possible. I'm not sure how you're going to deal with it, but when the bird's out of the cage, if you might have to tell them just to get the food in, and just so that you don't become frightened. Because once your fear gets too high, then you can't train. And when you can't train, then you've lost the battle. And you don't want to lose the battle, right? So you start small. That's why I say the come bearing gifts. Just walk around occasionally, going over to the cage and feeding something through the bars. If you have to use, I don't know, a pair of tweezers to put it in, whatever you have to use so you feel comfortable, get that treat in there. And then just on an irregular schedule. And what that does is it makes them look for your hands to come over to the cage. That desensitizes the hand issue. As I said, it worked really great with Marley, because Marley was, well, I was told what he was, but after he obviously attacked the cage whenever I got close to it, but I just kept doing the come bearing gift. I figured out what his favorite treat was, got it out of his diet, started doing that, and within 2 weeks he was out in the aviary. It's fine. I didn't have any fear of him coming and like ripping my face off, which is what I was told he would do. So so you want to start small. Those are two techniques that are easy to do from outside the cage. So we call that protected contact. So you want to reward a bird consistently, but you don't want to overdo it. So come by the cage maybe 3 or 4 times a day, and just give the treat, and then sit down and do the calm attention with the bird, slowly working yourself up to 30 seconds of the bird's attention. Up to a minute's better. I mean, 30 seconds you're okay. When you get to a minute, you know you've got it. Because when they'll look at you for a minute without looking away, you have definitely won the battle of getting their attention. And when they have attention like that, they're not afraid. So you've knocked down that fear too. But be consistent too. Okay. Be predictable. So when you walk over to give that treat, walk over in such a way that they know that's what you're coming to do. You're holding the treat out in your hand, you're walking up, or some other thing, you've got a spoon or whatever. You walk over the same way, keep it in the same hand, be predictable. You don't want to have them going, well, what's he got in his left hand? Why is the food in the other hand now? Just something else to scare the bird. So be consistent. Practicing consistency is not something that humans are good at, actually. Right, Cecil? You digging over there, boy? I have to point the camera strange when I'm using my notes. Because if I try to change, it drops the whole thing and I have to bring it back. So you want to establish a routine doing these things. So you want to do it every day, and it doesn't take much. The come bearing gifts is just bring the treat over 3 or 4 times a day, and if you just sit down once or twice a day for a minute or two, at first, because you're only going to give them, you're looking for 1 second of attention, and then you're looking for 2 seconds of attention, and you build it all the way up to 30. So. And you can see that kind of attention in Dr. Zelig's videos online. If you look under Animal Training 101 or Dr. Zelig's, you'll find her videos and you can see how they pay attention to her. As my good Aussie friend said, well, of course you can train those birds. They pay attention. Well, that's why. Come here. Come here. What is your problem today? I'm saying I can sit here. What are you doing? What are you doing? You also have to respect their personal space. That's tough to do when you have a bird that won't let you reach into their cage, but it is their personal space. So this is why that's why you use these techniques to get around the problem. So with umbrellas, it's not so much personal space because they don't have it. Well, he has personal space. It's his cage. He doesn't attack me, but he does try to protect his cage because it's his cage. It used to be Chloe's cage, didn't it? Yeah. Big boy. And you got to watch the body language. This is common in almost all parrots that I know of. When these feathers on the back of the neck come up by themselves, just by themselves, then the bird is going to be aggressive. It isn't always negative aggression, but in other words, they see something that's surprising to them, but they might want it. They might do that for a second too. But when it stands out like that, it's just that. Or with these guys, the crest goes up too. And on the non-cockatoo birds, where the eyes flash, watch for it. Eyes flashing can mean, wow, I just saw something I want to eat. Or it can mean, oh no, this is dangerous. So watch for those signals. And it's important to give them a choice, an A or B choice. It's like the mom walking down the aisle who says, you can have the Cheerios or the Raisin Bran, Wow, I've got a choice. Now with birds, if they don't like either one of those, that's not a real choice. You have to give them a choice between 2 things they actually might want. And that's a way to teach them to make good choices. Right? When he's trying to chew on the chair, if I give him a piece of wood to chew on, he'll chew the wood instead of the chair. That kind of thing. Desensitizing an environment has to be gentle. I won't say has to be. Dr. Zelig sometimes has, they've got an emergency surgery they have to do on a sea lion, and sea lions don't do well in general anesthesia. So she might run through a 3-day course or a 2-day course of desensitizing a bird to the operating theater they're going to be in, but wide awake with only locals. So what? What do you want? Yeah, he acts like this sometimes when I've got the phone. Like, what's going on with that? That's a Cecil for you. Going slowly is important. That don't like when you get to the point where you can reach in this, we're going back to that scenario, you're reaching in to change the food and you're feeling more confident about it. Go slowly, not because you're afraid, but because it is respectful of their space. Okay. And work with them in such a way that they know that you're respecting them. Okay. And respect doesn't mean, deathly afraid. Like you're afraid of your boss at work, your boss can fire you. So You don't want to have that kind of a situation going. So, what are you doing, Cecil? I gotta try to switch the camera again. I'm gonna lose my notes. Come on, switch.
I think Sugar is comfortably sitting on one foot.
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna doze off.
And that's KK and Cecil having a good time together. These guys are friends. Really good friends. Bucket
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah, they are very sweet together.
So you have to identify triggers too. If I had more accurately identified the trigger for Lorelei, I wouldn't have this bandage on my finger. And it's funny, the first day I had to take one of the craft sticks I used to give them peanut butter treats, and they had to put that under here and tape it on because where it was, if I moved my finger around, it just started bleeding again. So identify triggers. In this case, it's the males in the room for Lorelei right now. That's the trigger. It's not one you want. Hands in a cage is a big trigger. It was even in my notes. It was one of the things I had in my notes is that hands can be a big problem. See, their feet go like this. They can't do this. So it would be, if you've seen The Exorcist, where Reagan spins her head all the way around, that's what
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what it looks like when you do this to them, because they can do that. So hands are a frightening thing, and sometimes what they see us do with our hands is kind of frightening too. So you want to desensitize them slowly, and you want to identify what the fear your bird has. It might have fear of loud noises, or if you have other animals in the house, I don't recommend having dogs or cats. Known too many people had birds who lost them due to dogs. Don't actually know anyone who lost them due to cats, but these were all house cats. I've never known anybody who had an outside cat with a parrot. Not recommend. That's definitely not recommended because they kill birds in the outside environment.
Yeah, but not that big birds. That's the thing. Maybe it's like with the cheetah, you can actually have as a home cat as long as it's not getting to run.
Yeah, yeah. As long as they're house cats. Dr. Friedman had said that. She said she never heard of a problem with a house cat, and she actually has a house cat. Um, but
One
if
always needs to be careful and evaluating the animals, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to leave them together alone in a room, but
No.
actually in certain situations or so, I mean to remember with Maxwell Bird, the first cat Dan had, they just get along fine. They basically ignored each other. So
Yeah. They're all different personalities.
yeah.
we're definitely going to call this Trust Part 1. We'll because I have a lot more to go over, but we'll do that on the next video. Trust. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you down there, you dipstick. What are you doing climbing under my feet?
Cecil.
I think he was going to try to attack my shoes. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I think he was.
He trusts you, but he doesn't trust the shoe.
Well, I think he was sneaking up to bite me. This is my guess. He was sneaking up to bite my shoe, and I moved my foot. So then he went, ah! Yeah.
How dare you to help the shoe?
I don't know about you, Cecil. You're cute, but you're different. You're different.
Mhm.
Cecil.
It's as if they think that shoes are some kind of strange growth that they have to help us by chopping them off or something like that.
It is funny to look at their faces when you take off your shoes in front of them. I look, what in the world is that all about? They don't need clothes, and it doesn't seem right to them. It's taking parts of your body off. But Again, they have nothing to relate to. They don't wear clothes. Why would they? They're beautiful without them.
Yeah, having feathers is great.
That's all you need.
So the next video will be at how do you keep trust? What are the keys to keeping trust? And it's something you have to work on every day because it only takes one little thing to well, for example, when I accidentally kicked him down there because I think he was sneaking up on my feet, but I don't know. He wasn't when he gets quiet like that and sneaks down, it's kind of like Peaches used to do, but he does it for more of a I'm gonna go get his feet, ha 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 kind of thing. Right? Yeah, right. So if I hadn't picked him up and put him right on my chest when that happened, then there's a chance he might lose a little trust in me. So I picked him right up. Like it was like it was with Lorelai when she bit me. I picked her up and put her in her cage, but I said nice things to her the whole way. And once I got out of the room, because Snowball was still in here and I had to make sure she didn't go after him. And at that point, I was putting my other hand in jeopardy because she really wanted to get Snowball. She wanted to go fight with him. I wasn't going to let that happen. But once I had the door closed, I was just talking to her nicely. And again, reestablish trust, reestablish trust. It becomes a way of life. It's one of the reasons I've said I don't believe in love. I believe in loving kindness. Because love can change, but loving kindness, it can't. I mean, by its definition, it is always being kind in a loving fashion. So there's no way you can change it. Um, if you, I've never watched this movie, but there was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? I'm sure that that there are people who love doing terrible things, but you can't do if you're doing loving kindness, you can never do terrible things. Okay, it's just loving kindness does not allow for that. So that's why you won't hear me use the term love. I think it's doesn't fit at all. Not if you can love your car, love your bird, love your wife, and love to play golf. It doesn't make any sense to me. But loving kindness is not playing golf, right? Oh, it is? No, you're just going to chase the ball and tear it apart. See what's inside of it. Yeah, I know. I wonder if anyone's ever taught their bird to go and pick up the ball. They could see where it lands.
Oh, I should think so. You can teach them all sorts of things.
Trust is it's so important, but it's easy to get to misunderstand what their behavior is and lose your trust in the bird. And there's no reason for that. They're behaving the way they need to, they think they need to in their world to survive. So once you figure that out, then problems will come along. Cecil never used to lightly nip at my arm to get me to pet him. Now I've got him coming up and licking my arm instead most of the time. But you have to work with it on a daily basis and accept the fact that certain things will change and you're going to have to work with them. Most people don't get the tools. They haven't taken even the time to read something like Don't Shoot the Dog, which is a good basic primer on ABA. Although it doesn't describe itself that way, it's still a good primer on behavior. We do that too in our lives. We get to situations and we can't figure out how to deal with them, but we don't have the skills to deal with them. So then we just kind of throw our hands up and want to walk away. I mean, remember the class they had when you were in high school or whatever, wherever you are in the world, whatever late stage education you were in, and you had a class on how to live through a marriage? No, you don't, because they didn't give you that class, right? You're just supposed to kind of, oh, I'm going to get in this relationship and it's going to work. Yeah. For 1 in 1,000, maybe. Without some kind of training. It's the kind of training we should be getting, and we're not. So when you're dealing with someone that's there as different from you as a parrot, there's a lot to learn, isn't there, Cecil? What should we learn about the parrots? What should we learn? Oh boy. You happy now? You're sitting up here? Okay. All right. Well, thanks, guys, for coming. Thank you, Amy and Eleanor, for your support and managing the chat rooms. And thanks, everybody, for coming. You know where you can find all you need to know about us on our link tree. And
don't forget to bring your questions next week if you have any.
yeah, especially ones about trust, and other questions will count too, but we're going to deal with how to maintain it, because that's actually a big subject that we didn't have time for.
Thanks to all of our supporters. Rosebud told in chat that probably tomorrow her box will arrive.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
So we
hope
Yeah.
Cecil enjoys the toys.
Yeah, Cecil can't wait to see them. Thank you very much, and thanks to all the other supporters for helping us keeping these birds happy.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So appreciated, all the members we have and people that support us on YouTube and on Patreon. And those who do their who donate through our Flipcars website too. People donating there. What can you say? Can you say something? One of these days you're going to come out and say Cecil, aren't you? Or hello. No, not it. I know. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Eleanor. Bye.
Thanks, John.